Hey guys, it's Libby, and today I'm doing my summer book haul. I've got 5 books to show you guys today. 4 of them I picked up from Book Outlet, and then the last one I went into a good old-fashioned Barnes & Noble and bought. I don't do that very often. 2 of them are thrillers, and 3 of them are what I guess you call literary romance. So let's start with the thrillers. First we have the Rabbitback Literature Society by Pasi Ilmari Jaskalainen. This Finnish pronunciation brought to you by Maya from Maya Reads. Thank you, Maya. This book was originally published in Finnish and was translated by Lola M. Rogers. It is set in Finland, and interestingly, the only characters that I could get names of seem to have very English-sounding names, Laura and Ella, so I don't know if the names were changed to sound less Finnish, and if they were, that makes me kind of sad. I would like to be given the chance to try to pronounce Finnish. This book is about a woman named Ella. She's working as a substitute teacher in the town of Rabbitback. I have worked as a substitute teacher myself, and Ophelia babe. And she gets invited to be a part of this sort of elite book club, or I'm not sure to what extent it's a book club and to what extent it's a literature society. It's a group of writers, so it's a writing club, I guess. And she joins, and then things get weird. And I love books where the premise ends with, and then things get weird. One of the strange things that is going on in this book is that the text of the novel Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky is changing, like the events of the book change, like every time she looks at a copy. I was forced to read Crime and Punishment in high school, and you can probably tell what I thought of it by the fact that I used the word forced. So things happening in that text that Dostoevsky did not intend is something I am very much okay with. Let's read the first sentence. The reader was at first surprised, then shocked, as the criminal Raskolnikov was abruptly slain in the middle of the street, right before her eyes. That would be a thing that did not happen in Crime and Punishment. The next one that I have here is Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. This book has been raved about by several other people on BookTube. Mercedes from Mercy's Bookish Mercy's Bookish Musings, Simon from Savage Reads, and Lauren from Lauren in the Books. And the main thing that I know about this book is that the ending is like, did not see that coming. So I feel like I need to get out in front and read this before I get spoiled, because you can't be spoiled if you've already read the book. And this is probably the book of the year that I want least to be spoiled, so I just need to read it. This is about a woman named Louise. She's a single mom. I think she works as a temp, so she's, you know, she's getting through life, but she's not really living life. And one evening she's out at a bar, and she has a connection with a stranger, and they kiss, and then they depart. And then the next day she goes into her new job, and that guy's there, and he's her boss. He's her married boss. Then, separately, she meets his wife, Adele, and she can tell that there's something very strange going on in this relationship, and she sort of gets sucked into the orbits of David, her boss, and Adele, and then the crazy ending happens, so that sounds cool. Now, I am going to do something a little bit different. Instead of just reading you the first sentence, I'm going to read you the entire first chapter. Hang in there. Chapter 1. Then. Pinch myself awake and say, I am awake once an hour. Look at my hands. Count my fingers. Look at clock or watch. Look away. Look back. Stay calm and focused. Think of a door. The next one, this book and I, we already have a history. It is Our Souls at Night by Kent Haruf. Now, I heard about this book several months ago. It came out in, I think, 2014. The premise is it's set in modern-day Colorado, and there's a widow and a widower who live on the same street, and they're fairly old, and their partners have been dead for a long time, and so one day this woman, Addie, goes over to Lewis's house and says, do you want to like sleep together? Not in a sex way, but just in a, you know, it's nice to have someone next to you to talk to as you go to sleep. And then I don't know if they like properly fall in love, but they are definitely cute old people and they probably cuddle, which is great. But when I first heard about this, I was like, that's an interesting premise for a book. I don't think I would read it, but whatever. And then I heard that this is being adapted by Netflix. And before I knew anything else about it, just the fact that there was going to be a TV show of this immediately made me want to read it. And I had to think for a bit about why. And I think it's because I'm feeling, I guess, reverse nostalgia. If you don't know, I'm married. My spouse, his name is David. He's great. I intend to become an adorable old person with him. Reading is kind of definitionally a solitary activity, but watching a Netflix series is not. So I think it was the notion that we would be able to watch this together and then like establish nostalgia anchors for our future life. I just want to one day be able to look back and say, hey, remember 50 years ago, that story, Our Souls at Night, we're like that now. Also, I may a little bit have started reading it. I'll read you the first sentence. Kent Haruf wrote several other novels and also a collection of short stories before this. This is his last novel. He's now dead. And they're all set in the fictional town of Holtz, Colorado. So this book starts kind of in media res, and I think the fact that he's written other books in the same setting is why. Chapter 1. And then there was the day when Addie Moore made a call on Lewis Waters. Next, we have Morris by E.M. Forster. This is the ever popular Penguin Classics edition. And just before I talk about the book, can I just talk about the photograph? That's a really good photograph. Good job, person in 1915 or whoever who took this. I really like that. Also, at first you don't notice it, but eventually you see that their arms are linked. So if the arm linkage didn't give you a clue, this book is one of the earlier gay novels to have been written. Our main character is, no surprise, Morris, and it's in the beginning of the 20th century. He goes to, I think, Cambridge. He goes to Cambridge and meets another guy and sort of discovers his sexuality. And then they sort of have to navigate the political realities of the world that they live in and the challenges that faces. For the most part, the fact that this book exists fills me with hope and joy. But there is like just one little iota of rage in me about this book. That is that E.M. Forster, who was a gay man, or at least a queer man, wrote this book in 1913 and 1914, but it was not published until 1970 after his death. And it's understandable that in the year 1914 he didn't want to publish a gay novel. However, in 1929, Lady Chatterley's Lover was published. In 1954, Giovanni's Room was published. And in 1967, Myra Breckenridge was published. And these are all very transgressive, sexually transgressive novels. And so, like, by the time all of those had been published, like, we could have handled it, E.M. Forster. You could have published this during your lifetime. What the world needed in the year 1950, with all its, like, heteronormative conformity, was this book about men who love other men. And I think you were just a coward to not publish it. Okay, I've said my piece. Let's read the first sentence. Once a term, the whole school went for a walk. That is to say, the three masters took part as well as all of the boys. And the next one is also a gay novel. This is Call Me By Your Name by Andre, I'm not totally sure how to pronounce that name, Ackerman, possibly Assaman. This was written recently, but it's set in the 1970s. It's about a young man. He's in high school. The back doesn't want to tell me anybody's names. And his family has a house in the Italian Riviera. I believe he is American, though. I think what happens is every summer they have a guest stay at their house. They like rent out a room to somebody, and they rent out a room to a college student or possibly a graduate student, and romance and complicated sexual feelings ensue. This also has a film that's coming out later this year, and I definitely want to read the book before I see the movie because there is definite potential for this to have a sad, sad ending, and I would rather experience that in the book than in the film. Also, I read the first couple of paragraphs in the Amazon preview, and the writing, it's something else, guys. It's really good. I will just read you the first sentence, but hopefully it will send you off to read more. Later, the word, the voice, the attitude. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I'll see you later.